In a prestigious Korean high school, she stood out not because she wanted to, but because she couldn't blend in. A black girl in a foreign world, the daughter of the Nigerian ambassador, quiet, reserved, and untouchable. She had no friends, no crushes, and no interest in the attention she got. But that only made her more mysterious. Then came the captain of the basketball team, confident, popular, and dangerously charming. To him, she wasn't just another girl. She was a challenge. A bet was made to win her heart at all costs. But what started as a game quickly spiraled into something deeper: secrets, heartbreak, and unexpected twists that would change everything. If you love stories filled with culture, tension, and young love that burns brighter than reason, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. This is Bella's Storytime. Foxtrot College stood like a glass kingdom on the outskirts of Seoul. Modern, expensive, and filled with the children of Korea's political and business elite. Its tall silver gates opened every morning to sleek cars, chauffeur-driven limousines, and the soft murmur of students who wore pride like perfume. Into this world of polished privilege walked Lucia Onwudiwe, the new girl from Nigeria, whose father had just been appointed the ambassador of Nigeria to South Korea. Lucia had grown up in Abuja, surrounded by laughter, noise, and the familiar hum of a place that felt alive. Korea, on the other hand, was quiet and cold. Even the air seemed too polite. Her first morning at Foxtrot was a strange blend of excitement and nerves. She wore her neatly pressed school uniform, her dark brown skin glowing under the morning sun. The girls stared. Some whispered. Others smiled politely, though the smiles didn't quite reach their eyes. She had been warned by her mother. "Lucia, remember who you are. You're representing not just us, but your country. Don't let anyone make you feel small." Lucia took those words to heart. Every step she took through the wide corridors of Foxtrot carried the quiet elegance of a diplomat's daughter. Her English accent stood out, her confidence too. She answered questions with grace and spoke with the kind of certainty that made some of her classmates uneasy. Before long, the whispers began. "She's too proud. She thinks she's better than us. Look at how she walks, like she owns the place." Lucia didn't mind. She had learned that pride was her shield. When you're alone in a foreign land, your self-worth becomes your armor. But beneath that confident smile was a girl who missed home-cooked jollof rice, her sister's laughter, and her father's warm hugs before leaving for work. In her second week, during lunch break, she sat alone by the large window overlooking the basketball court. That was when she first saw Sean. Tall, athletic, and effortlessly charming, he was the kind of boy every girl noticed before he even said a word. His laughter carried across the court like music. His confidence wasn't loud, it was magnetic. He was the captain of the basketball team, son of a wealthy businessman, and rumor had it that he'd dated almost every popular girl in school, including Ivy, the reigning queen of Foxtrot. Lucia only glanced for a second before returning to her sandwich. She wasn't the type to swoon. She'd seen enough back home to know that charm was often a disguise, but that moment didn't go unnoticed. Ivy, sitting just a few tables away, caught the direction of Lucia's gaze. Her eyes narrowed. "The new girl's watching my man," she said to her friends, though Sean wasn't technically hers anymore. Still, pride and possession often spoke louder than truth. Classes rolled by. Lucia maintained her distance from the crowd. She focused on her studies, spoke to only a few classmates, and made it clear she wasn't here to impress anyone. Yet, her silence made her more mysterious, and mystery always draws attention. Soon, the boys began to talk. "She's different," one said. "She's rude," said another. "No, she's just not easy," someone countered. And that word "not easy" sparked curiosity in Sean's circle. One Friday evening, in the basketball court locker room, Sean's friends brought her up again. Bro, that Nigerian girl turned down Kang, Minho, even Leo, one said, chuckling. Sean raised an eyebrow. Really? Yeah, another replied. She acts like none of us are good enough. Maybe she thinks she's some kind of queen. Sean smirked. Maybe she is. It started as a joke, but Ivy, sitting nearby, laughed bitterly. Don't even waste your time, Sean. She'll reject you like the rest. Sean leaned back, his signature grin appearing. Wanna bet? The boys laughed. But Ivy's expression turned sharp. You? Trying to win her over? He nodded. $500 says I can make her fall in love with me before the semester ends. The laughter grew louder. You're crazy, one friend said. Maybe, Sean replied. But it's not about the money. It's about making her see she's not untouchable. And just like that, the cruel game began an ego-driven bet that would soon spiral into something deeper than any of them expected. That night, Lucia lay awake in her dorm room, staring at the ceiling. Something about her new life felt heavy, as though the air around her carried silent judgments. She thought of her sister Amara, whose picture sat beside her bed. Amara had been full of light, but love had extinguished it. Lucia still remembered the day they lost her, the sound of her mother's wail echoing through the house. That memory built walls in Lucia's heart that no one could easily climb. Meanwhile, Sean couldn't stop thinking about her. Maybe it was the challenge, or maybe it was the way she walked past him without a glance when every other girl melted under his gaze. Whatever it was, something about Lucia intrigued him beyond the bet. He told himself, it's just a game. But deep down, he already knew it wouldn't be that simple. The next morning, fate staged their first real encounter. Lucia was walking out of the library, her phone in her hand, when two senior boys cornered her near the stairs, mocking her accent and calling her Princess Africa. One of them reached for her wrist, and her voice trembled as she said, "Leave me alone." But before it could escalate, a voice boomed from behind them. "Back off." It was Sean. His tone was sharp, commanding enough to make the boys freeze. Everyone knew better than to cross the basketball captain. They stepped aside, muttering apologies as they walked away. Lucia stood there, shaken but composed. Sean turned to her. "Are you okay?" She nodded, though her eyes glistened. "Thank you," she said quietly. "No problem," he replied, flashing that disarming grin. People can be stupid sometimes. For the first time, she smiled a small, reluctant smile, but it was enough. Enough to spark something neither of them fully understood yet. As he walked away, Sean pulled out his phone, typing a quick message to his friends. Step 1, complete. But as he hit send, his heart whispered something his pride refused to hear this time. It might not just be a game. The weekend after the library incident, the halls of Foxdross buzzed with whispers. It wasn't unusual for rumors to spread fast there after all. Gossip was the unspoken sport of the rich and bored. Word had it that Sean Kim, the basketball captain, had stepped in to protect the new Nigerian girl. Some said he did it out of kindness. Others swore it was part of a new challenge. Lucia tried to ignore the attention, but every glance, every smirk, reminded her that she was being watched. She kept her focus on her books, avoiding the basketball court entirely, though part of her found herself thinking about that moment, the firm tone in Sean's voice, the way his presence shifted the air around her. She hated to admit it, but for a fleeting second, she had felt safe. Meanwhile, Sean sat on the bleachers after practice, sweat dripping down his temples, scrolling through his messages. His friends had sent laughing emojis and teasing texts. So, how's Africa's princess? You sure she's not out of your league, bro? Ivy's not gonna like this, man. He sighed, tossing his phone aside. He wasn't sure what irritated him more, their immaturity or his own uncertainty about what he was doing. Just then, Ivy walked in her heels, clicking sharply against the polished floor, long hair tied in a sleek ponytail. Ivy Park wasn't just beautiful. She was powerful in a way that came from being used to getting her way. Her father was a major shareholder in the Foxtrot Foundation, and she had been the face of every college magazine cover for 2 years straight. "Still practicing this late?" she said, her voice dripping with confidence as she walked up to him. Sean smirked. "Just keeping in shape." She tilted her head, studying him. "Or keeping someone else in shape." He raised a brow. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Don't play dumb," Ivy replied, her tone tightening. "Everyone's talking about how you defended the new girl. You never do that for anyone." "It wasn't a big deal," he said casually, wiping his face with a towel. "Oh, please," she scoffed. "You and I both know how this school works. People don't get involved unless there's something in it for them. So, what is it? A bet?" For a second, Sean hesitated, but only a second. Then he leaned back, his signature grin reappearing. "Maybe. Wouldn't you like to know?" Ivy smiled faintly, though her eyes darkened. "You're playing a dangerous game, Sean. That girl's not like the others." He shrugged. "That's what makes it interesting." Her voice softened, almost like a warning. "Just remember, when you play with fire, someone always gets burned." As she turned to leave, Sean caught her hand. "You care?" She pulled it free gently. "Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but I don't like losing. And you know that." She walked away before he could respond, leaving a trace of her perfume and an aftertaste of something complicated. Ivy and Sean had never officially dated. They were the kind of couple that never needed a label entangled in memories. They spent nights together, shared secrets, argued like lovers, and yet neither claimed the other. It wasn't love, but it wasn't nothing either. The following week, Lucia was in the school garden reading during her free period. The autumn breeze carried the scent of fallen leaves. She felt at peace there, away from the whispers, away from the constant reminder that she didn't belong. She was lost in her book when a voice broke her concentration. "You always hide here?" She looked up. Sean stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, that effortless smile on his face. She tensed immediately. "Not hiding," she replied. "Just reading." "Reading looks good on you," he said lightly, taking a seat beside her without waiting for an invitation. Lucia sighed. "Is this how you talk to every girl?" He chuckled. "Only the ones who pretend not to like me." "I don't pretend," she said sharply. "I just don't like distractions." Sean nodded slowly. "Fair. But you don't seem like the kind of person who runs from people either." "I don't run," she said, closing her book. "I just choose who I give my time to." Her tone was firm but calm. He liked that. Most girls at Foxtrot either flirted or fawned over him, but Lucia stood her ground with quiet strength. "All right," he said, standing up. "How about you choose to give me 5 minutes?" Lucia stared at him, unimpressed but curious. 5 minutes for what?" "To get to know me," he said, shrugging. "You might be surprised I'm not as bad as people say." Against her better judgment, she smiled slightly. "I doubt that." Still, she didn't stop him from sitting back down. And just like that, their first real conversation began awkward, guarded, but oddly warm. They talked about music, food, and how strange Korean weather was compared to the heat of Nigeria. Sean found himself laughing more than he expected. Lucia found herself lowering her guard just enough to enjoy it. When the bell rang, she stood up, gathering her things. 5 minutes are up," she said, half smiling. Sean nodded. "Worth every second." As she walked away, he called out, "Hey, Lucia, thanks for the conversation. I haven't do." She looked back briefly. "Don't make it a habit." Later that evening, Ivy stood by the balcony of her dorm, watching the basketball court below. Sean was down there, talking and laughing with Lucia. Even from afar, she could feel the shift, the ease between them, the kind of comfort that comes when something new begins to grow. Her chest tightened, though she couldn't tell if it was jealousy or pride, maybe both. She grabbed her phone and opened her group chat with the girls. "Looks like our star boy is falling for his own act. Minji." "What do you mean?" Ivy. I mean, maybe this little game needs a reminder. She didn't elaborate further, but everyone knew Ivy well enough to understand what that meant. That night, as Lucia lay in bed, she found herself smiling faintly at the memory of their conversation. For the first time since coming to Korea, she felt seen not as the ambassador's daughter, not as the African girl, but simply as Lucia. She quickly scolded herself for feeling that way. Don't be foolish, she thought. You know what happens when you let people in. But the heart rarely listens to warnings. Meanwhile, Sean sat by his window, staring out at the Seoul skyline. He should have been celebrating a small victory step 2 of his plan, but instead, he felt something unfamiliar. It wasn't triumph. It was warmth, confusion, and a faint trace of guilt. The game was supposed to be fun, but suddenly, it didn't feel like one anymore. The days following their garden, conversation passed like chapters in a quiet novel. Lucia and Sean found themselves crossing paths more often, sometimes by chance, other times by design. Sean always seemed to appear when she least expected him, in the library aisle, at the school cafe, or outside her literature class pretending to wait for someone. At first, she thought it was coincidence, but soon, she noticed his pattern. He didn't push, didn't flirt too obviously, just appeared, smiled, and left traces of laughter behind. And though she wouldn't admit it, she began to look forward to those moments. One chilly Tuesday morning, Lucia arrived at school to find a steaming cup of coffee sitting on her desk with a yellow sticky note. For the girl who doesn't smile enough. S. She rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress the grin tugging at her lips. Her seatmate, Haejin, leaned over, whispering, "Is that from him?" Lucia sighed. "It's just coffee." Haejin smirked. "Maybe. But in Foxtrot, coffee is never just coffee." Across the class, Sean caught her reaction and smiled to himself. The bet had been a joke at first, a show of ego and mischief. But something had shifted. Her authenticity disarmed him. There was no performance with Lucia. No fake giggles. No exaggerated flattery. Just quiet strength and guarded kindness. And that scared him more than he cared to admit. That evening, after basketball practice, Ivy waited by the locker room door, arms folded. She had that look, the one that meant trouble. "Busy lately?" she asked, her tone light but eyes sharp. Sean sighed. "Not this again." "Oh, it is this again," Ivy said, stepping closer. "I've been patient, Sean, but I'm not stupid. You're spending time with her." He tossed his towel into his bag. "You mean Lucia?" she scoffed. "You even say her name like it's special." Sean met her gaze. "Ivy, what are you trying to prove?" "I'm trying to remind you of what this is," she snapped. "A bet, remember? You were supposed to make her fall for you, not fall for her." The words hit harder than she intended. For a moment, Sean's jaw tightened. "You think you know me that well?" "I do," Ivy replied bitterly. "And I know that when you start acting like this, missing practices, sending cute coffee notes, you're not thinking straight." Sean exhaled heavily. "Maybe I'm just tired of playing games." Her voice softened, but only slightly. "Then end it before she ends you." With that, Ivy turned and walked away, leaving Sean with his thoughts swirling. For the first time, the idea that began as a reckless dare was starting to feel like something fragile, something dangerous, something real. The next day, Lucia stayed after class to work on a literature assignment. She was halfway through her essay when she heard footsteps behind her. "You know," Sean said, sliding into the seat beside her, "for someone who claims she doesn't like distractions, you sure attract a lot of them." Lucia chuckled softly without looking up. "That's because I'm minding my business." He leaned in. "And I'm disturbing your peace." She glanced at him, eyes playful. "Exactly." For a moment, their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. A warmth. A question neither wanted to answer. Sean cleared his throat. "You're good with words. What's your essay about?" Lucia hesitated. "Tragedy and choice. Sounds dark." "It's reality," she said quietly. Sometimes the worst pain comes from choices we didn't know would hurt. Her tone softened into silence. Sean watched her, noticing the flicker in her eyes, a shadow of something deeper. "You talk like someone who's seen a lot," he said gently. Lucia smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Everyone has a story. Some just hide it better." He wanted to ask more, but something told him not to. Instead, he said, "Well, for what it's worth, I like the way you see the world." Lucia looked at him for a long second, then said, "You don't even know how I see the world." "Then let me find out." The sincerity in his tone startled her. She looked away, pretending to focus on her notebook, but her heart had already begun to race. That weekend, Sean invited her to watch the basketball team's scrimmage match. He didn't expect her to say yes, but she did. She showed up in a simple hoodie and jeans, her braids tied back, her face glowing under the stadium lights. As he played, he found himself scanning the crowd until his eyes landed on her. Their gazes met, and he felt a rush of adrenaline he hadn't felt in years, not from competition, but from connection. After the game, as he approached her, drenched in sweat, she smiled slightly. "You're better than I thought," she said. "Better at basketball or at impressing you?" "Neither," she said with mock seriousness. "You still have a long way to go." "It is," he laughed, shaking his head. "Then I guess I'll keep trying." She didn't respond, but her silence carried warmth. Later that night, Ivy sat on her bed scrolling through her social media feed. Her friends had posted clips of the game Sean playing, Lucia cheering. Each video felt like a spark hitting gasoline. Her phone buzzed. A message from Minji popped up. "You really letting that girl steal your spotlight?" Ivy typed back quickly. Not for long. Her mind was already spinning. If Sean wouldn't end it, she would make sure Lucia did. In the days that followed, Sean began to change. His friends noticed it first. He laughed more genuinely, spent less time chasing parties, and seemed less concerned with his usual charm games. Even his coach noticed the shift. "You've got focus now," the coach said during training. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up." Sean nodded, but deep down, he felt conflicted. He still hadn't told Lucia the truth about how their story began. The bet, the motive, the lie that hung like a shadow over every smile. And yet, the more he got to know her, the more impossible it became to imagine hurting her. One evening, Lucia invited him to the campus cultural exhibition. She performed a spoken word piece titled, "Home is Where the Heart Breaks." Her words were raw about identity, loss, and the fear of love that lingers after tragedy. Sean watched, completely still, as her voice echoed across the hall. He didn't know what hurt more, the beauty of her truth or the guilt of his lie. When the crowd erupted in applause, Lucia's eyes found his. For the first time, he couldn't hold her gaze, because in that moment, he knew the game was no longer a game. It was love slow, fragile, and doomed to collide with the truth that still waited to destroy them both. The first signs of trouble came quietly, like whispers carried on wind. Lucia didn't notice it at first. The sudden stares in the hallway, the half-smiles that vanished when she looked up, or the muffled laughter that followed her as she passed. She thought it was just Foxtross being Foxtross. But then one afternoon, while she was leaving the library, a folded piece of paper fell from her locker. It wasn't addressed. No name, no handwriting she recognized, just 6 words that made her stomach twist. "Ask Sean why he really came." She stared at the note for a long minute, her heartbeat uneven. Then she crumpled it, trying to convince herself it was nothing. But the words wouldn't leave her head. That night, she barely slept. Sean had been different lately, distant in small, unspoken ways. Sometimes, when she talked, he'd drift into silence. When she smiled, he'd look away as if burdened by something unsaid. The next day, she decided to confront him. Sean was at basketball practice, focused yet distracted. Every dribble of the ball echoed louder than usual. He hadn't told Lucia about the bet. He wanted to, But every time he saw her, every time she smiled like the world hadn't already hurt her enough, the words refused to come. He was in love, and that was the cruelest irony of all. After practice, Lucia was waiting near the bleachers. She looked calm, but her eyes carried that quiet intensity that always made him nervous. "Hey," he said, tossing his towel over his shoulder. She didn't smile. "We need to talk." His heartbeat stumbled. "Sure. What's wrong?" She hesitated, then asked softly, "Why did you start talking to me?" The question hit him like a cold wind. "What do you mean?" he said, stalling for time. "Don't play games, Sean," she said. Her voice wasn't angry, it was steady. Too steady. "Someone left me a note. It said I should ask why you came into my life." Sean swallowed hard. Around them, the gym was quiet, empty, echoing. For a second, he thought about lying again. It would have been easier. But her eyes, those calm, unflinching eyes, wouldn't let him. "Lucia," he started, his voice low. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." Her brow furrowed. "What wasn't?" He looked away. At first, it was a bet. The silence that followed was suffocating. Lucia stared at him, her face unreadable. "A bet?" He nodded slowly, guilt dragging his voice down. "It started as a stupid dare. My friends, they said you'd never fall for anyone. I wanted to prove them wrong." Her lips trembled, but she didn't cry, not yet. "So all of this, the coffee, the talks, the walks, were all part of your joke?" "No," he said quickly, stepping closer. "It started that way, yes, but it changed. I swear, Lucia, it changed. I didn't mean to fall for you, but I did. She took a step back. "Don't." Her voice was soft, broken, but final. "Do you have any idea what love means to me?" she whispered. "Do you know what I've lost because of it?" Sean's chest tightened. "Lucia, please." "My sister died," she said suddenly. Her words cracked, raw and shaking. "She gave her heart to someone who lied. She trusted him the way I trusted you. She drank poison because she thought she wasn't enough." Sean froze. "I told myself I'd never love again," she continued, tears spilling down her cheeks now. "Then you came. You made me believe maybe not everyone was cruel, but you were worse. You made me hope." Sean reached out, his voice breaking. "Lucia, I'm sorry." She stepped away again. "Don't touch me." He stood there, helpless, watching her walk out of the gym. The echo of her footsteps faded slowly, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier than sound. By the time Lucia reached her dorm, she was shaking. She locked the door, collapsed on her bed, and finally let the tears come long, painful, silent. She didn't scream. She didn't curse. She just cried until her body went numb. Across campus, Ivy sat with her friends at the cafe, pretending not to smile as she scrolled through her messages. Minji had confirmed it, the note had been delivered. "Did she find out?" Minji asked. "Oh, she did," Ivy said coldly, stirring her drink. "And it's over. Sean got what he deserved." One of the girls laughed nervously. "You really went through with it?" Ivy's smile didn't reach her eyes. "No one steals from me and walks away smiling." But later that night, alone in her room, Ivy felt a strange emptiness creep in. She opened her chat with Sean and typed, "You ruined yourself, not me." Then deleted it before sending. Because deep down, even she wasn't sure who had really lost. Sean spent the next week like a ghost. He tried calling Lucia, texting her, waiting by her locker, even visiting her dorm, but she refused to see him. She skipped classes for days, and when she returned, she avoided his eyes completely. His friends teased him at first, but when they saw the way he'd changed, the sleepless eyes, the silence, the slump in his usually confident shoulders, even they stopped laughing. Coach Lee noticed it too. After practice one evening, he said quietly, "Whatever's eating you, fix it before it eats everything else." But Sean didn't know how. Some mistakes can't be undone, only carried. Lucia threw herself into her studies, trying to forget. But forgetting was impossible when every corner of the campus reminded her of him, the garden where they'd talked, the cafe where he'd made her laugh, the court where she'd watched him play. One night, she sat by her window, looking out at the city lights. "You were just like the others," she whispered to herself. But even as she said it, her heart betrayed her. She missed him. She missed the version of him that felt real. And that was the cruelest part. The lie had been built on moments that weren't lies at all. Weeks passed. The basketball tournament approached, the biggest event of the semester. Sean was captain, but his spirit was gone. Even Ivy noticed it. "You look miserable," she said one afternoon as they crossed paths. He didn't respond. "Don't tell me you're still hung up on her." He looked at her, eyes dull. "You don't understand, Ivy. I broke something I can't fix." For once, Ivy didn't have a comeback. She just watched him walk away, and for the first time, she wondered if maybe her victory had cost too much. The night of the finals came. The gym was packed, lights flashing, cheers echoing. Lucia sat among the crowd, distant and unreadable. She hadn't planned to come, but something in her heart wouldn't let her stay away. Sean spotted her just before the game started. For the first time in weeks, his chest felt alive again, not with hope, but with purpose. He didn't play for victory that night. He played for forgiveness. When the final whistle blew and Foxtrot won, the crowd erupted. But Sean didn't celebrate. He walked to the center of the court, took the mic from the announcer, and looked straight into the crowd, straight at her. The gym fell silent. "Before anything else," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "I owe someone here an apology. Someone I hurt because of my pride, my stupidity, and my fear." Lucia froze. Sean continued, "When I met her, it was for the wrong reason. But somewhere along the way, she became the best thing that ever happened to me. I broke her trust, but I want her and everyone here to know that my love for her is the only real thing I have left." The gym was silent. Even Ivy couldn't move. Sean's voice cracked slightly as he said, "Lucia, I'm sorry." The crowd murmured. Lucia's eyes filled again, not with anger this time, but with something softer, something complicated. She didn't move, didn't speak. But as Sean stepped back, she knew that moment, that raw, public confession would change everything. That was the night Foxtrot learned what it meant for a boy to lose everything but his truth. And for Lucia, it was the night she realized that forgiveness doesn't erase pain, it only gives it a place to rest. A week after the speech, Sean sent her one message and nothing else. "I'll come when you ask me to." It was small, almost humble, so unlike the grand gestures he once favored. Lucia didn't reply. Instead, she kept his words folded quietly inside her, like something that might one day catch fire. Days turned slow and heavy. She went to classes, submitted assignments, laughed when she was supposed to, but her laughter now had pauses between it. Each evening, she found herself by the riverbank, sitting where the world had once felt wide and forgiving. Now, it felt like a mirror, reflecting a girl trying to remember how to breathe without longing. Then one afternoon, she found a note slipped beneath her notebook. "He really likes you. Please forgive him. I caused this." Her chest tightened. The handwriting was delicate and unmistakably Ivy's. That night, Lucia messaged him. They agreed to meet, not on campus, where whispers traveled faster than truth, but at the little tea house tucked behind the student housing. It was a quiet place, where the air always smelled of jasmine and regret had room to breathe. Sean arrived early. His hands were empty. His eyes looked tired, like someone who had been walking through his own guilt for too long. When Lucia entered, he stood but didn't step forward. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. "Thank you for letting me," he replied. His voice trembled with something she hadn't heard in him before: humility. I don't deserve another chance. I just need to be honest now. Lucia sat across from him, her heart beat loud in the small silence. Then tell me the whole truth, she said. No half words, no excuses. Sean nodded, and then he told her everything. About the dare that started it all, the cruel game that was never meant to touch her. About the nights he'd stayed awake, hating the version of himself that had hurt her. How the guilt had hollowed him out. How he'd cut ties with the friends who started it, burned the money, and lost the respect of people who once mattered because none of it mattered anymore, not compared to losing her. When he finished, there was no defense left in his voice. Only the fragile truth of someone who had finally stopped running from what he'd done. I know it's hard to forgive me, he said quietly, but I needed to say this so I could breathe again. He rose to leave. Lucia's heart ached at the motion, at the way he looked, ready to accept whatever came next, even her silence. Sean, she called gently. He turned, hesitant. She stood, her voice trembling but steady enough to cross the distance between them. Can we start over? She asked. This time without lies, without dares, just two people trying again because they both choose to. For a moment, he didn't move. Then his expression broke a small, disbelieving smile cracking through the sorrow. He stepped forward, slowly, as if afraid she might disappear. When he reached her, he pulled her into a quiet embrace. It wasn't passionate or desperate, just real. The kind of hug that says, I've missed you in ways words can't fix. I'm sorry, he whispered against her hair. I'm sorry too, she said, voice shaking, for walking away when maybe we could have healed sooner. He pulled back just enough to see her face. I love you, he said, and the words came out raw, almost broken. Her eyes filled, but her smile held. I love you too, she breathed. And in that small, quiet tea house surrounded by the scent of jasmine and second chances, they began again. Not as the girl who was betrayed and the boy who betrayed, but as two souls who had learned the hard way that love, when it survives the fire, comes back gentler but stronger.